What's up YouTube? So I didn't know there was going to be an entire marathon yet today. But we've got the Fimi Palm 2 with me today, and I've also got the Fimi Palm 1. I've taken this out into the real world. Let's see if the number 2 is any better than the Fimi Palm 1. So I actually do like the new design on the Fimi Palm 2. It's got a little bit of a rubber grip. I'm not sure. It also has a tripod mount on the bottom and a built-in microphone jack on that side, if you can see. So a little bit more innovative than the Fimi Palm 1. The Fimi Palm 2 has built-in Wi-Fi just like the Fimi Palm 1 had, and they both run off 2.4 gigahertz or the 5.8 gigahertz, which is a lot less crowded. So there is that good feature about the Fimi Palm 2 in 1. I've got the Pocket 2 with me, which is kind of the benchmark, so let's see how these two cameras fare. So we're going to be looking at the dynamic range and the different colors between these two images. The Fimi Palm 2 looks pretty similar. It does have a slightly different sensor, as I'll show you shortly, but between these two I can't really say that one is better than the other. They're just slightly different. The Fimi Palm 1 does appear to have better highlights, but the Fimi Palm 2 has more information in the shadows for some reason. And if you actually start looking at these closely, you will see the Sony Sensor on the Fimi Palm 2 has slightly worse highlights but slightly better dynamic range in the shadows. So this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like the new Fimi Palm does have a little bit more information in those darker parts of the image, and I mean it looks okay for the price. You will see the highlights on the Palm 1 just look a little bit better than the Palm 2, and you can see that in this image. I did notice some micro jitters on the Fimi Palm 2. I'm sure they can fix this in firmware, but it is noticeable if you compare it to the Fimi Palm 1. Now you would be interested to know that the new Fimi Palm 2 actually does have a Sony sensor. Somebody emailed me at one stage and asked me about the firmware. This is a Sony. I'll put the model number on the actual screen. But the really interesting part about this equation is the new Fimi Palm 2 sensor is actually slightly smaller than the old OmniVision sensor on the Fimi Palm 1. But I'm not sure if a smaller Sony sensor is better than a bigger OmniVision sensor. Who knows? But let's actually test these two cameras out in a vlogging scenario. Which one would work best? I suspect the Fimi Palm 1 is going to outdo the Fimi Palm 2. Is the Fimi Palm 1 any good with an external microphone? You can see that the field of view is quite wide. You've got a 128 degree field of view. I think it's a 128 degree field of view. A 14mm lens, and I've got pretty good sound, I'm hoping. So Fimi Palm 1 external microphone test. And this is the Fimi Palm 2, the new Fimi Palm 2 with an external microphone. Is it any better? I'm hoping the sound is going to be working. And this is after the latest firmware that the Fimi Palm support team have actually sent me. How is the sound? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing the sound on the new Fimi Palm 2. Ah gosh, I really need to go to the bathroom. What's the fine for urinating in public? So if there's one good thing about the Fimi Palm system is the face tracking is pretty good. It's called smart tracking. Let's put these two up against the Osmo Pocket 2, which has got Active Track 3.0. Oh, big deal, right? This stuff actually outdoes the Osmo Pocket 2, and I'll prove it. Okay, you can't track objects, but you know, the tracking's pretty good. The face tracking's pretty good. So this is my makeshift rig to test out 3 different pocket cameras, and as you can see, I was running out of tripod mounts on this. It might be interesting to note that the Fimi Palm 1 and 2 were already tracking without even touching the screen, which is pretty cool. Okay, so slightly better lighting, I guess. Not so much backlit at the moment, so let's just do face tracking on the Pocket 2. Fimi Palm 1 and Fimi Palm 2 just automatically track, which is nice, so it recognizes a human face. Let's just double click on the Osmo Pocket. Okay, so now all of them are face tracking. If I move to the left, all the other cameras actually pick me up. If we move to the right hand side, DJI Pocket 2 is doing a good job, and DJI will lose me, and both the other cameras are keeping up. Okay, so the Pocket 2 didn't lose me there. That's pretty good. What about coming out behind this pole Will the Pocket 2 actually react? No, it won't. The Fimi Palm 2 and the Fimi Palm 1 do have smart track, which recognize a human face. So there you go, DJI's tracking is not as good as Fimi Palm, a $200 camera. Before we get back to the rest of the video, I just wanted to interject here. The Fimi Palm 2 is not doing too bad in today's test, and you're going to see in the next one as well. The Fimi Palm 1 looks great as well. I'm not sure I'm using exactly the same SD card. It's the SanDisk Extreme Pro. I did try with a different SD card, but I put the SanDisk Extreme Pro back into the camera. I'm using the same firmware. I'll put the firmware up for the Fimi Palm 2 that I'm using. I mean, it didn't do too bad. It didn't look as good as the Fimi Palm 1 in my view, but there were some stages where in the next test you'll see the DJI Pocket 2 actually loses me. It's got a slight different focal length on the Pocket 2, and sometimes if your face isn't right in the center of the frame, it'll actually focus on the background. It's the first time that that's happened to me. Have a look at this test. Let's do a quick test with the sound, the internal sound, okay? So this is the Fimi Palm sound internally, okay? Fimi Palm 1 sound internally. This is the Fimi Palm 2 sound internally. And I'm going to switch this microphone, but this is using the microphone on the Osmo Pocket 2. I'm going to switch it off so you're going to hear this. So this should be mic disconnected. This should be the stereo microphone on the DJI Pocket 2. Let's switch back to the Fimi Palm 1 sound internally, and let's go to the Fimi Palm 2 sound internally, which is apparently a new and improved algorithm that does wind noise reduction, but I don't think it's very good at all. Testing 1, 2, 3. So I set the joystick speed to 1 on these particular shots, and they both kind of look okay. There's a bit of a shudder on both of the cameras when you actually pan up with the joystick, so I'm not sure if they could fix that in firmware. Hopefully they can. So let's go to the DJI Pocket 2. This is DJI Pocket 2. Let's switch to the Fimi Palm 2, right? This is the image quality. How's the dynamic range in that cloud in the background? Is it exposing okay? Let's go to the Fimi Pocket 1, which always had pretty good exposure on the clouds in the background. So back to the Pocket 2, which tends to overexpose and clip the actual clouds most of the time, unless you're using an ND filter, which I haven't actually tested much yet. Back to the Fimi Palm 2. Okay, Fimi Palm 2, how's it looking? Let's go back to the Fimi Palm 1. Back to the Pocket 2. How is the sound and how is the image quality? And let's go back to the Fimi Palm 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. These are quote-unquote HDR photos using the Fimi 1, and if we go to the Fimi Palm, you will see the shadows are a lot darker on this particular image, even though the overall image is quite similar. The only difference I could see was the shadows at the bottom didn't have as much detail on the Palm 2 for some reason. But generally the clouds looked amazing on both of these cameras in Fimi Palm 1. The Palm 2 definitely had slightly less flattering images, let's say. If I compare these two side by side, they both look nice, but I think the Fimi Palm 1 HDR photos look better. Okay, so I thought I'd do a low light test. This is the DJI Pocket 2 you're currently looking at. Let's switch to the Fimi Palm 1. This is Fimi Palm 1, the older generation, low light test. Let's go to the Fimi Palm 2. Let's switch back to the Fimi Palm 1 and again back to the Fimi Palm 2 in a low light. It's kind of low, it's pretty dark in here today. This is the DJI Pocket 1, which actually does do pretty well in low light. It shouldn't be as good as the DJI Pocket 2. It's got a smaller sensor. Let's switch to the DJI Pocket 2. Dynamic range on the DJI Pocket 2 doesn't always look as good as the DJI Pocket 1. So DJI Pocket 1, this is what it looks like. Let's go back to the Fimi Palm 1 and the Fimi Palm 2, DJI Pocket 1 and the Pocket 2. Which one looks best? So where does this leave us in today's test? Well, I'm not really sure what to say about the Fimi Palm 2. It sometimes does okay. I mean, in that shot on the beach when I was riding along, it looked really good and the exposure was good on the clouds in the background. I think because this camera actually exposes to infinity, it sometimes outdoes the Osmo Pocket for exposure, and DJI are going to have to fix that when they fix up their hybrid autofocus, I guess, but they will do that in firmware. The Fimi Palm 2 is kind of an up and down camera at the moment for me. I've done 2 pretty bad reviews about it. Today it seemed to work a lot better. The stereo sound on the Pocket 2 is obviously much better, okay? But I mean, for the price of this camera, I don't know if I can suggest you buy it, but if you want to take a risk with the camera, maybe it's worth trying it out. I suppose we have to give Fimi Palm team enough time, just like we're giving to DJI, to fix all these issues in firmware. It's unfortunate that we're expected to wait for firmware updates after we buy these cameras, but that's just how it is in the world today. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me what you think of the footage, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Apparently I need to get more subscribers on this channel, so see you again next time.